Welcome everybody, my name is Terminus and today we are going to check out Techhnolyze, the next episode. It's going to be episode 5 for this one. I do unfortunately probably not have time for episode 6 right now. Sorry for that. I'll do it as much as I can, but this time around I don't have the time, I'm sorry. I did have some problems on episode 3 and 4 with copyright, by the way. I had to lower the opacity, the transparency, increase the transparency of the window a lot in order to make sure that it's not gonna get flagged. So sorry about that. It's gonna be like, it was mainly Bandai Namco that kind of flagged my content and did make it unavailable for Japan itself, which I do think is unfortunate because a good deal of you are Japanese over here. My largest audience is USA, but Japanese is, I think, second or third largest audience, so I don't want to lose all of you to that. Yeah, here's hoping that most of you will be able to check this out. You will probably get this around, I don't know, mid-September or something, maybe end of September. I hope you enjoy these episodes coming out, and yeah, let's get into it. Last time we actually had our main character, I think Ichise, right? Techhnolyzed, and he's kind of been freeing himself more or less. And our female blonde doctor, she's not in such a good state, but there seemed to have been some intimate stuff going on, even though it was relatively, like, from the feeling, it was relatively predatory. So I do assume that this is not going to be a thing where we're going to be suddenly going to be friends or whatnot. She's scheming and she's working for the opposition or for our de facto oppressors. Raden didn't have a lot of content, so I'm wondering if we're going to dive into her story soon, or if we're going to follow our other guy, Yoshi, with his observations about this land, about this world that is seemingly very foreign to him, since he's coming from the surface and we are supposedly underground. But yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's see what we have here. Techhnolyze episode 5 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1. Bam! I'm leaving in the intro mainly so you can sync up everything, right? Up until the ED, everything is perfectly one-to-one. There's no cuts. So this is synced for you. But the ED, I might cut occasionally. And the OP I need to keep muted because that is also something that is getting flagged. Still, if you have your own copy, sync it up. Listen to it. It's a really cool intro. Still wondering when the two of them are gonna meet, and if they're gonna be more like guardian and child, right? Like parent and child. Loiter, okay. Where are we loitering? This is a club, alright. Oh, and that's the dude we saw earlier on the street, right? Yeah. This is where Yoshi was hanging out. Oh, I love this building, the way it looks. Ooh, shit, I Damn. I forgot the Bro, I forgot the fucking subtitles. Alright, I'm gonna look this up later in the episode, okay? Like, I'm gonna look this section up in terms of subtitles. Okay. Free spirits. Rebels, right? Tilted angle.
外ってのはどうなんだ。自分で見に行ったらいいんじゃないの。なんかあるのか。あると思えばあるさ。だがないと思えばないさ。
What an answer.
もったいつけるなよ。本当の自由は何にもよりかかれない。それは儚く、寂しく、険しい。
Alright, he believes that.
保証や見返りを求めちゃダメだ。見返りじゃない。証だ。あの光が？ああ。君はさっき何にも属さないって言ったけど、そら嘘だ。君はこの町に属している。
Kind of, yeah.
間違いなく君の自由もな。どっかいい場所を教えてくれないか。え？俺の年にふさわしい女のいる場所。
Ooh, okay. So he's not devoid of these desires, he's just... Alright, then we're looking for MC. Oh, he sends off, okay. After he dies once. Metaphorically, probably, right? And obviously, he tries to wipe it away, right? It's connecting to his eyes. Ooh. And this is run. He's disoriented, he wants to get out of there. He hasn't adjusted. This is hard, but he's making it even harder on himself, right? Interesting how he's barely in the light and the darkness is surrounding him. Dude, you're just gonna break your real hand. And once again, we're focusing on these cables. It's like a cage holding you in, right? Like wires of a nervous system. Alright, welcome back, Yoshi.
今日はどんな子が失礼だが、あんた金はあるのか
まあね。
うちは道具の持ち込みは禁止だ。それはここに置いていってもらうぜ。
そら、まずいな。
そういう趣味なら外に男がいる。 そいつから紹介してもらうんだな。ただし紹介できるのは一人しかいねえけどよ。さあ帰ってくれ。なあ、
男に触られるのはちょっと。
Right, he's antsy about getting touched. Okay. Wonder what that is about.
こっちこっち、変わったのを探してんでしょ。
ああ、ベテランがいいんだけどな。
そいつはうってつけだ。
He looks like a crook.
よろしく。
ち、この野良犬が今度ふざけた真似したら殺すぞって。
I mean, at least he got food, right? And he laughs in face of that.
なんだ。失礼だけど、いくつなのかな。
ふざけんな、そんなこと言うわけねえだろ。最初見た時から気に入らなかったんだよ。
Bro, is that serious?
芝居はいいよ。どんな悪態をつかれても僕は挑発に乗らないし、僕にそういう趣味はない。
じゃ、何なのよ。何がしたいの。
君と話がしたいんだ。
And she's still following him. Wonder how long he can keep on. Just existing on adrenaline and survival instinct.
Hmm? あれは大西の言ってた。いつの間にか立派な手足がついていやがる。
He's like a newborn, just thrashing around just at anybody and anything. Doesn't know anything than violence, it seems. At least hasn't known that for a long time. Like a rabid dog. Weird how he gets thrown around, right?
Yes.
ここの下水は迷路だからな。野たれ人だから大西に尻尾振ってる誰かが見つける。
Alright, so they're not connected to, directly connected to Onishi. But Ron did observe this. So is she gonna rescue him?
2つ目の橋まで木俣率いる休民連合の島。丘の通りの突き当たりから奥がラカン。この辺りは中立地帯だけど、その向こうが全部ルクス最大の組織オルガノのもの。
Rakan, and then the Salvation Union.
結構違ってるんだな。オルガノの幹部とかとも会ったりするの？
私なんて相手にするわけないでしょ。あんたここの人間じゃないんだね。
君も外に行きたいのか？
行きたい。そしてもっとまっとうに暮らす。
なら行けばいい。
殺されるわ。
There's a lot of scars on there.
どうやったらそんなことになるのかな。
これを見たら男はまず逃げ出す。だから私はまともなやつは相手にできない。あの人も昔は一発だったのよ。でも相手の組に捕まって自分のものまで用なしにされたら、私だけまともなのが許せなくなった。
ここから出て行ったら彼はいない。そしたら寂しいんじゃない？
冗談じゃない。私のことを知らない人なら、私がこんなだって知られていなければ、私に優しくしてくれる人がいるかもしれない。あんたみたいに。
君は綺麗だ。
That's nice of him. He's got a really gentle soul, I guess. At least that's how it seems to me. I wonder what society he comes from.
それ。
気にしないで。これは僕の肉体の一部だ。
So he's not technolized, right? But he has some other kind of equipment. Very interesting that there might be a rival equipment to what we have in this city right here in Lucas. That isn't a rat, that was like a beaver or some shit. Although maybe it was like a water rat, like one of the bigger ones, you know. What is driving him, right? What keeps driving him? Where is he going? Or is he just aimlessly wandering? I guess he's just running on instinct, right? And he's just been out of the operation, so it must be hurting like crazy. Ooh, the music. Look how he's tiptoeing with the mechanical limb. He doesn't know how to use it. Ooh, I like this. I like this OST. It very much fits the maze style. And he's at the same place again. Start twitching with his hands. The frustration. It's so hard to tell what's going on inside of him, right? We don't have inner monologue, we don't have dialogue. Just have raw energy, right? Aggression, frustration, screaming. Oh, maybe he actually makes it his mission. Holy shit. He sees something in her, I guess. And our boy is at his wit's end. Just there's nothing more to do than to laugh. Ooh. White flower. Is that a sign? Ooh, someone dropped it there, right? And now he sees where the current is going, right? Is he gonna kill the dude? He actually is. Sweet oblivion. I mean, yeah, she basically said he abused her. Brimming with living energy, but... Ooh. Wait, he killed her too? Okay. Freeing her of her suffering. Very curious, what is his motive here? Bro's crawling up the wrong side of the wall. He should have been on the railing, but instead he's fucking going at the wall that has no railing. Couldn't you bend those? It's difficult though, right? His frame is still human, so... And there she is again. Following his tracks, and she's the one who sold flowers, of course, right? The flowers coming from her. He gave him the hint. Acting according to a vision, I guess. Maybe. What is she doing? Is she just gonna follow him around, or is she gonna take him with her to somewhere? It feels almost ethereal, right? And now we know the flower, right? The why it's in the ED. I think it's very interesting how her mouth is covered by a flower, right? So we don't see her facial expression. And then it fades away and she's closing her eyes and she's resting in peace. Death flag, question mark? Or maybe just more of an ethereal concept. And then how her exterior and the pigtails and everything fades away and it's just her head with like the short hair. Wonder if that means something. But yeah, Techhnolyze, episode 5. Let's get a boom on the screen. We're not gonna do too much talking. I find it very interesting how we can subtly tell stories, right? How we can how we can really tell these stories, right? We do have these changing pictures and flashing lights and weird like static, which is representing like the half-light, right? Where you can not see all that well, where most of what you see is gray, levels of gray. And then we have fingers touching and people kind of getting along. I do love this building. It looks kind of very, very European in a way, but also very imposing, like the way it's on a corner and it's like it's one of those old buildings, round corners and going to either side, which is maybe a big party building or theater or whatever you would expect. I'm gonna look back to the actual, where like we have our conversation right here. He asked, "Are you bored?" It's hard for me to be in a place like this. My ears are a bit, maybe I'm getting old. Yeah, okay, so the party atmosphere, right? The loud was something for him. This was my VIP seat to begin with. I'm surprised you're attracted to the lights like that. And then we do have that scene and he's like, we're all free to do whatever we want here. It's a nice philosophy, especially for people who feel maybe they're not as free as they would like to be. Do have that tilted angle. It's very interesting. We like maybe symbolize a skewed perspective in a way, right? We all have our own weird angle to look at things. And he asks what it's like out there, and he's not telling, right? He's like just being poetic, right? He was poetic a couple of seconds ago when he talks about freedom and whatnot. And here he's being poetic back and he's keeping it vague, not sharing any information about what it's like outside of this place. Maybe there's a reason why nobody came in here so far and why nobody was maybe even allowed outside or could make it outside. True freedom can't lean on anything. It's transient, lonely, and odorous, right? So if you're reliant on anything, be that a city, be that other people, be that whatnot, that's his idea, his philosophy of that, then that is not true freedom. True freedom is loneliness, being isolated, being very ethereal as well, right? Being odorous, being hard as well sometimes, because freedom is not only being free to do whatever you want, whatever you please, but also it's maybe not entirely being, right, maybe not being able to lean on anything, right? Being in free fall sometimes, in a way, in a metaphorical way. You can't hope for security or reward beyond it, right? Freedom itself is the goal, it is the reward. You can't hope that security comes with freedom because the two of them are opposed to one another. We see that a lot in society, right? When it comes to like societies have different degrees of freedom that they allow their citizens. And oftentimes that is negatively correlated with the amount of security that people have. The more security you employ in a state, the more security you employ in a society, the less free the people will be. That doesn't mean that this is necessarily a bad thing because like a certain level of security is supposed to be there. It's supposed to be here in order to ensure that we can live our lives without being afraid that tomorrow might bring something about that means our end, that means our desperation, that means we get stolen from, our friends and family get tortured or murdered or intimidated, we get oppressed, right? Because we can't defend our own freedom, because obviously in order to have freedom we need to have the power to prevent it being taken away from us. And having freedom taken away from us means everything from being stolen, like things being stolen from us, things like conditions being put on us that we do not want, that we do not enjoy, us being told to do something that we don't want to do, all the way just for us being reliant on something and someone else, because that is not freedom, right? We're not free to do whatever we want because we're reliant on a certain thing that somebody else wants, and maybe somebody else has a disagreement in that very specific thing, right? We need to find compromises, but that is part of what human society and living with one another means, right? You can't just be, you're not always free. That's just how it is. And he says, not reward, just proof, right? And I don't know what he means exactly. Proof of my freedom, right? Proof that I feel free, that I have the impression that I'm free. And he's asking him, those lights are? And he's saying, yeah, when I look at these lights, I feel free. You just said that you don't belong to anything, but that's a lie. You belong to the city just as much as the city belongs to you, right? It holds you here, it binds you to itself. You're reliant on it. You're reliant on the community within it. Without a doubt, so does your freedom, right? Your freedom only exists within the confines of the city. And the confines of this city mean that in the grand scheme of things, beyond the city, you're not free. Within the city, you're free, but beyond it, you're not. And he wants a nice place to go where he finds people his age, which is interesting. Especially interesting in the light of what he does later. And we talk about, he still doesn't have the Techhnolyze limbs exterior, which would be easy to spot, right? This is why the limbs look so meager, right? So mangled, because they're just bones and the exterior is not here yet, the hard shell, the armor. And as such, he's more vulnerable, he can't control it well, right? But he's pure instinct at this point. He's just fighting spirit. He's been in one deadly and torturous situation after another. At this point, he's like a hounded animal. Everything you throw at him, even if you're just maybe trying to be nice, if you get touchy-feeling with him, if you break his like personal space, if you shout something at him or even just yell, if you are close to him and he's not sure what you want from him, if you're ambiguous towards him, then he's going to assume aggression. He's going to assume you want to hurt him. He's going to assume that you're a bad person. And then he's going to thrash out like a wild animal that's cornered and trying to defend itself, right? And in his movement, he's not only because of his technolized limbs, but also generally because he's still dazed, because he's in this adrenaline state, because he is exhausted and absolutely broken. He's in the state that he lashes out to everybody, and when he lashes out, he's very uncoordinated. He's gonna stumble upon himself. He's gonna be slow to react. He's not gonna be able to fight for himself, but he's gonna try because he's not accepting of anything outside, right? Because nothing that's coming from the outside is positive. It's only neutral or it's negative, and it's been this way for a long, long time. So he is in survival mode. He's just an animal at this point, reduced to his base instincts. There's nothing more, no higher process or whatever. The most we've gotten out of him is when he was actually talking to the doctor, and even then he was in an emotionally extremely vulnerable state, and an extremely aggressive and extremely extremely unsettled state, where he only was able to make demands and ask, where's the thing, right, the leftovers of my mother, where is that shit, and right. And all that he got from the doctor was her trying to regain control over him and actually force onto him whatever she wanted to do with him here, which is partially out of her morbid scientific curiosity and partially out of her own orders that she's getting. And to boot, to add to this lack of ability to handle the new limbs, we add to that the flickering information that's coming into his eyes from the technology that's been implanted in him. And Aran is observing everything. We have the stairs again, right? He was walking up the stairs the last time. He was exhausted at the stairs when he got picked up. Now he's walking down the stairs, or he's trying to walk down the stairs, and he's falling them down because he's constantly losing control. He can't catch himself. And all he can do is just agonize and be frustrated and be just angry over this. He wants this gone, right? He doesn't want to think about it. See, it's this reminder of his lost relative, and also this thing that got forced on him that he didn't want, right? That limb that feels so foreign to him at this point. You have that a lot of people who lose limbs and have them replaced. There's this problem that beyond trauma here, right? But even for people who don't have direct trauma relating to that, you have the phantom pain of your old limb. You do have this foreign feeling, right? It doesn't, there is no feeling in there, right? It's part of your body. You do realize that at some point by just, right? By moving it, and it moves according to your will roughly, and your brain recognizes that. There have been like psychological experiments with that as well, where we do see, for example, perception experiments where you do put your arm under a blanket and you have like an artificial arm next to it, which is in no way connected to you, right? It's like some kind of like just plastic arm that looks very realistic. And then you simultaneously go with your finger over the arm of the patient, and you're also simultaneously making the exact same synchronous movement with the artificial arm. And after a while, it feels exactly the same, right? You have like synesthesia going on. And then when you actually slap the other arm with a hammer, for example, you do for a second actually feel that, first of all, that expectation you have, and second of all, you do feel the actual pain of it going through you, right? Which is insane if you think about it, the way like this can influence our senses with something that actually doesn't happen. But we can make that connection in our brain, but it takes a while, right? And at the beginning, it feels very, very foreign to us. I thought the mere fact that he can even lift himself up with the arm that he just bludgeoned into like titanium steel or whatever that is. And we do see him looking through the crack, which is also a very interesting symbolism of him just barely peeking into spaces from the outside. I love how this reflection of him, like Yoshi coming into the establishment as it reflects in the whiskey of the class. Do have a hint at like courtesans and whatever. We don't even need to show any skin or whatever. We only need to show like the stereotypical thing, what we expect like this frilly dress and like maybe for some of them smoking and just having the legs out, right? And the stilts and whatnot. He doesn't want to lose his equipment. I think this is why he's going outside. Or maybe he has been planning this from the get-go, where he was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, but I don't know what he wants with the other one, right? Why he supposedly killed her or whatever. I know why he killed him, right? Because he was a fucking bastard who mutilated her in order to use her for his own thing. But yeah, I don't know. People do terrible things to other people in order to regain a sense of control, and that's oftentimes not just consciously. I think that's just subconsciously it happens, right? I do something and I feel good. I don't know why I do that, but there's some sense in that psychology. It just doesn't happen to exist within our realization, right? We don't realize that we're doing it because of that exactly, and playing it through, and maybe at some point we're reflecting upon ourselves and we can get to the bottom of that, but that is an investigative process. It's not something where we are like, okay, we're just going to look at it and yes, it makes perfect sense. No, we need to go through the steps and need maybe even help with people who know more about this stuff and can give us a couple of kind of just food for thought, right? Lead us in the right direction, where we're kind of getting to the realization of, oh, this is why I'm doing the things I'm doing. This is why I feel good when I do this, right? We all just exist within this complex system of the world. Very tiny atom is acting to one another, right? On the tiniest level, atoms are interacting with one another, being pushed apart or drawn to one another, joining connections and whatnot. And we kind of mimic this in the macro, right? It happens in the micro scale, and we mimic that in the macro scale, where we do interact with one another. We get pushed apart from one another. It's a very simplified, a very artistic, a very abstract way to look at things, but it still holds true that the macro kind of mimics the micro in a way, although the laws that govern these spaces are vastly different. The way these things exist are vastly different, but we're all built on the micro, right? So in a way, it makes sense that bigger systems would mimic the smaller systems. And he's just trying to survive, getting his food and whatnot. Bro's like, I don't like men touching me. I wonder if this is like there's a component to that, or if it's just like, if he's just said that in order to show him something that is believable, and there's some other thing behind that. I do love the wires that we're using everywhere with the shots, right? That we're looking up at the sky and it's always wired like a cage keeping us in, but also like connections between all of the city, like it's one living, breathing organism with a nervous system. Love the shadows that we're playing here with the half-light. The way we are moving seemingly unimportant trash aside. This could be very well could be a scene of him just stumbling, right? Of him just stumbling up, but we show the trash, we show the ugliness. Interesting that we show her in this situation, right, where she's slightly in the light, there's darkness behind her, but there's like a crass shadow in front of her, like a very linear shadow as well. It's not like a slow shadow creeping in, it's more like an actual line, like there's some kind of separation between what she's looking at, which is our main character here, and what is actually the space she is in, right? So there's a separation. She's separate from the situation, just observing it. Love the creative angles we're using from down up. We do really see how he feels on the inside, because if you would be looking at him from straight up, we would only see him being down like this, right? We wouldn't see how his facial expression looks, how his body, how his posture is exactly, right? How he's barely holding on to the railing, how he's sweating, how he's looking down upon his feet or legs or whatever. And I'm picking him up again. I was under the impression, like, it's very interesting that she hides behind a mask. I guess she wants to stay anonymous. Maybe people would recognize her, or maybe she doesn't want to be within an incident where she could be recognized as somebody. But I would assume like a mask like that would be a little bit more notorious, because I haven't seen it on any other people yet. Because it's just so she can't be identified, and if she runs around without the mask, people wouldn't be aware that it's her. Or maybe the mask has some kind of symbolic meaning, I don't know. Either way, he loses his temper because this is the guy who cut off his arm. And we're kind of talking about something here where it's like, are you sure about this? And he's like, that sewer is a maze. Just when he's about to die a wretched death, some suck up to Onishi will find him. So he's like, maybe he's playing his own political game, because we do know he has a connection with Onishi, but maybe they are from two different sub-factions, or he's planning to do some kind of power play. Either way, he's like, I want to treat him like this. It's gonna be fine. Onishi will find him anyway, right? It's just like, I'm gonna have my fun with him. I'm gonna do whatever I want with him, right? Throw him to the sewers, humiliate him, whatever. And then Onishi's guys will find him anyway. It's gonna be fine, right? I'm not gonna be in danger of being maybe put down a peg because I did something that Onishi didn't want to happen to him. Or because I didn't report finding him, being like, here he is. Everything, all right, that's the territory of the Salvation Union led by Kimada, which is the guy with the, like, super Techhnolyzed thing. Up to the second bridge, all right. And then we go beyond the end of the road by the hill is the Rakan's territory. We can't tell right here, but we're supposed to know that Yoshi knows where these places are and kind of notes that down. Beyond the end of the road by the hill is the Rakan's territory, which is the people he hung out with, right? The disco freedom kind of people, right? Free spirits. It's a neutral zone around here, but beyond this, right? And then there's the buffer neutral zone, and then everything else, like the big parts of the city, belong to the Organo, which is the biggest organization in Lucas. And he's just collecting information. Love how we're looking at it from the ceiling, right? Almost like we're like somebody creeping in on it, right? Some animal just observing this thing happening. Yeah, she wants to go outside of Lucas and straighten her life out. And why don't you? Because I'd be killed, right? This guy has power over me. And she's showing her all of her scars, right? I don't know what kind of scar it looks like burns, to be honest. What does it take to become like this? And he's hiding his eyes, which means we don't see what his intentions and his emotions are as he's listening to this. Says, yeah. A rival gang got this guy, and when his own equipment was rendered useless, equipment, which is probably people, he couldn't allow me to remain normal. You leave here, he won't be with you. Won't you be lonely? She's like, I'm just gonna... Someone who doesn't know I'm like this, there might even be someone who's nice to me like you. And he's being very gentle to her, and we do get the feeling that he's being there for her, with his warm smile and everything, and there's something happening between the two of them. We switch to Jujutsu being in the sewers, but we'll skip that part. There's a couple of nice shots where we see like top down at how the sewers look and whatnot, but it's very unimpressive aside from it just being black and white and being very industrial. They make a good job like just putting out the general feeling of it, and his eyes kind of twitching and he's losing it, right? He's barely staying conscious. And there's still this rage inside of him, but he seems to be almost disassociating here, that we see like his entire like disoriented and not knowing who he is or what he is or where he is. But this is all we see here. The soundtrack was really, really cool. It set up a really amazing atmosphere, like almost felt palpable the desperation that he had, and like the hopelessness and the blandness of the environment, the bleakness of his situation. But yeah, there's definitely scarring on her, and she's sleeping seemingly like very, very at peace. Interesting. Not even like the animals see him as a danger, right? They're just looking at him curious. Maybe even waiting for him to die so they can eat him. I don't know. And then we sent the flower, like a white flower, almost like it's hope. Something. White flowers are also always something noble, right? That's connected to innocence and to something along those lines. So I do wonder what the flower means in the grand scheme of things. Either way, she's the flower lady. I should have known that it came from her. I assumed so, but I didn't assume so because she's the flower lady. But I assumed so because she has been following him, right, and had visions of him. And this is showing him the current and the way he can get out. And here he's killing him. He's like stone cold faced, which I absolutely understand. I don't know why he's smiling. Either he's not getting what's happening, or maybe he's looking forward to it, kind of low key. Right, that last deranged smile that we see before the headlights. Interesting also that we let a train be in the scene, which is kind of like throwing yourself in front of the train kind of style. And he's just gonna pop a cap in him, a couple of caps. This place is definitely bringing with living energy. I don't know what he means, but half measures won't do. And she's dead, right? Did he choke her? Did he give her something? Right? She's dead. I mean, I guess maybe he saw it as freeing her from this place. But I don't know what that means. Does that mean this place exists in some kind of weird, unnatural in-between state? Right? That is not the material living world? Or is this just something that he's on a mission to do? Or if maybe it's something that he himself wanted to do and felt like doing this very moment, and since there's no authority that can necessarily prosecute him, as he knows, maybe he just took that ride and was like, this is what I'm going to do, this is my morality, kind of, this is my codex, and this is what I do. And then he moves on with his actual mission here. I don't know. I really don't. And this is like interesting, like the flower petal is falling down like it's almost like it's a raindrop, and then it's meeting the water surface and creating ripples. Almost reminds me of like the start of Sekiro, where this letter is thrown down the well and it's kind of just right landing at our feet. And he's pushing on despite all of it. And we reach like an almost ethereal space, right? There's the light, it's like bright, it's so fucking bright. Almost like hope presenting itself to him. And her, right, standing at the staircase, the light right behind her, like she's the shining beacon that is gonna be his salvation. And he broke the bars and is just lying there. And the first thing he sees when he slowly opens his eyes is a flower, which I guess maybe she placed it there in a way to soothe him when he opens his eyes, that it's not like, oh, aggression is happening, what's happening, something threatening, but a flower, which has the meaning of hope, has the meaning of something beautiful, something maybe even nice smelling if it's still fresh enough. Something that is very rarely seen in this stone, metal, industrial world that we've been introduced here in Techhnolyze. It's almost like these are the stairs to heaven, and he's lying at like the very start of those. And now we know what the flower is in the ED. But yeah, that's been Techhnolyze episode 5. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave me a like and subscribe to the channel. We're gonna check out episode 6 in 2 weeks then, probably. Well, right, 1 week Monster, then the next week it's gonna be episode 6. Monster is probably also not gonna be 2 episodes this time around, but after that maybe, right? We'll do like Techhnolyze 5, then Monster, I don't know what it is, Monster 29 or 28 or something. And then it's gonna be Techhnolyze 6, and then it's gonna be possibly, right, maybe Techhnolyze 7, maybe just 6, and then it's gonna be Monster 30, 31, maybe something along those lines, and then Techhnolyze 7, 8 could be. We'll see how it goes and how much time I will actually have for that. Being said, check out the social links, you know, Discord, Patreon, and yada yada. And I hope I'll be seeing you on my other reactions or in the next Techhnolyze.